We here at the Sports History Network proudly partner with 26 podcasts, all revolving around the history of sports. But did you know that many of our hosts were sports history authors way before they started their shows? It's true. We've got Joe Ziemba, host of When Football Was Football, Joe Zagurski, host of Pro Football in the 1970s, Mark Morthier, host of Yesterday's Sports, Tommy Phillips, host of Lombardi Memories, and Scott Adamson, co-host of From the 55-Yard Line. All these authors have many books for you to choose from. To check them out, go to our website at sportshistorynetwork.com/sportshistorybooks. Pick up your copy today. Soundtrack provided by Kevin MacLeod of filmmusic.io.
We're going to talk about a big memory of football history that happened on June 27th, the memory of three men from an NFL dynasty team walking into a rival league's training camp and set the football world on fire in 1975. Join us to look back at the WFL's Memphis Southmen and their big signings. Coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with pigskindispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history. And we cover all kinds of football history, all levels of football, high school and college and professional, and all around the world, not just the NFL and professional, but we try to cover as much history as we can from all the leagues that made football the game that it is. And today we're going to take a trip back to 1975 on June 27th. And it's appropriate that we release this episode on June 27th here in the 21st century. But it's the anniversary of June 27th, 1975 of a pretty big moment in football history. It is the day that a dynasty was broken. It wasn't quite on par with the breakup of the Beatles, but in the gridiron realm, it was pretty big. The World Football League's Memphis Southmen held a press conference with former Miami Dolphins stars Paul Warfield, Larry Zonka, and Jim Kick showing up in the Memphis training camp for team physicals at the WFL's team's local workouts in Sanatoba, Mississippi, as the announcement was being made to the public. This move was the watershed moment that made the breakup of the Dolphins official. Now, if you remember, in 1972, those three players were on that undefeated championship Lombardi winning team of the Miami Dolphins, Super Bowl 7, I believe it was. Just a tremendous team. Super Bowl 6, I'm sorry for that. But they did come back and win Super Bowl 7 as well. Remember, this happened in 1975. There was no 24-hour news or sports channels or even cable TV in every household. I'm not even sure if it was invented yet. No social media platforms, as the internet itself was about a decade or two away from even being created and distributed. So the news that people got was from the newspaper, maybe a local news sportscast or the evening news on one of the big three TV channels. Now, this occurred a handful of years after the NFL survived by staving off another threat of a rival league by merging with the American Football League. These things were really chugging along quite well for the Shield. They had the Super Bowl going, had a handful of those in, and NFL was really gaining in popularity, and big TV contracts were becoming quite lucrative, and they even had some marquee teams. Now, at the top of the list was the Miami Dolphins, who not only won back-to-back Lombardi trophies recently at that point, but also had appeared in 3 straight Super Bowls, first team ever to do that. And they darn near made it 4 in a row in 1974 after an 11-3 record. But the Oakland Raiders were pretty hot that year, and they defeated the Finns in a heartbreaking 28-26 AFC divisional playoff game. Well, back to the WFL in the Southland. Now, if you recall a short while ago, we had historian and author of multiple World Football League books, Mark Speck, on the program, giving a quick bio on each WFL squad. Now, he told us the story of the WFL's Memphis franchise and how originally they were supposed to be housed out of Toronto per the wishes of their team owner, John F. Bissett. Now, Bissett's dream of having the operational HQ of the Canadian city was thwarted, though, when the CFL lobbied then Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau to help squelch the competition. The CFL wanted no professional football from America up north of the border. Trudeau soon thereafter announced that no United States-based professional football league would be allowed to have operations in Canada in competition with the Canadian Football League under the Canadian Football Act. Now, Bissett swiftly secured a field in Tennessee and moved his franchise to Memphis. The original team name was supposed to be the Toronto Northmen, and they had already designed a logo that was of a grizzly bear. Not wanting to toss that design cost out the window, Bissett and company capitulated and changed their moniker to the Southmen of Memphis, but kept the striking grizzly logo. Now, due to this team and some of the dislike of the Southmen name by many who resided in Memphis, the team has gone in the annals as sometimes being referred to as the Grizzlies as well as the Southmen. But the Memphis Grizzlies, that was pretty much a fan and a press thing just for their strong dislike for that name, Southmen. The WFL, if you remember, had put full season under its belts in 1974, and in that inaugural season, they finished with the league's best record of 17-3 to the Memphis Southmen. However, in the semifinal playoffs, they fell to the Orlando-based Florida Blazers by the score of 18-15. Now, Memphis must have been feeling pretty good about their franchise, as that's when they just put out some really lucrative offers to Warfield, Kick, and Zonka just before the 1975 season would start. The signing was a real shot across the bow of the NFL. All appearances were that the WFL had some momentum to rival the Elder League, especially the way Bissett was able to toss some big money to lure 3 stars of one of the NFL's top teams away from that franchise. The trio of former Dolphins press conference in March of 1974 announced what was then the richest 3-player deal in sports and was national news and shocked the sports world. According to Wikipedia, they signed a 3-year guaranteed contracts beginning in 1975 with a total value, including perks, of $3.5 million. Pretty big money back in the 1970s. Zonka's salary was $1.4 million. Warfield $900,000 and Kicks was $700,000. Each player would also receive a luxury car every year and a 3-bedroom luxury apartment. Not too shabby. Take care of the ride, take care of the home, and you get some bucks in the bank. Pretty good deal. Well, that is what it looked like on the surface, but behind the scenes, the WFL was in shambles. Mark Speck pointed out in our interview things such as the false paid attendance numbers, and the fledgling football organization was handing out free tickets like popcorn to fill the stands at the stadiums, and failure to get one of the big 3 television networks to cut a deal to air their games. That really hurt too. A lot of money that was lost. But Bissett, though, was going to do his part to give the WFL some substantial footing by tossing his own money at the problem. But even his big trio of signings couldn't save the league, which folded during the middle of its second season. The 1975 Grizzlies finished with a 7-4 record. In their last WFL game, they were shut out by the Birmingham Vulcans 21-0. Kick led the team with 10 touchdowns, as well as points scored at 75. And Kick finished second in the team in rushing with 121 carries for 462 yards, 9 touchdowns, and tied for second with Warfield in receiving with 25 catches and 259 yards, 1 touchdown. Now, after the WFL folded, Kick returned to the NFL as a backup runner for the Denver Broncos and later the Washington Redskins. Warfield made his re-entry into the league after the folding of the WFL with the Cleveland Browns, where he played for a couple of years before retiring in the mid-70s. And as for Zonka, he eventually made his way back to the Dolphins, but he had a 3-year stint with the New York Giants right after playing for Memphis in the WFL. And none of them enjoyed the success that they did earlier in their careers with Miami and Don Shula. But as for the Dolphins, well, that organization, they suffered too from the departures. The team did go 10-4 in 1975, but it just wasn't good enough. They ended up tied for the division title at 10-4 with the Baltimore Colts. However, the Colts won the tiebreaker in 1975 with a sweep of both head-to-head meetings. There was only one wildcard slot in those days in each conference, and that was claimed by the Cincinnati Bengals with their 11-3 record. So for the first time since 1969, the Dolphins missed the playoffs. In the following season, 1976, it got even a little bit worse. They went 6-8. The Memphis Grizzlies would rise again. Well, sort of. Only as an NBA franchise when Vancouver's franchise, the Vancouver Grizzlies, relocated to the Tennessee town and to what so far has been the only time in history where a Canadian pro sports team that was in Canada, in a Canadian city, and that has relocated to the United States soil, kept the same nickname, the Grizzlies. And it's quite a coincidence that the Vancouver Grizzlies moved to Memphis and there was a former Grizzlies team playing football in the WFL. Just a coincidence, but interesting enough. So that's our little story here on the WFL and the signing of, the showing up at training camp of the three players, Jim Kick, Larry Zonka, and Paul Warfield, of the former Dolphins players to play for Bassett and his Memphis Southman, Memphis Grizzlies football team in the WFL. Hope you enjoyed this little bit of history. Hope it stirred some memories for you, or maybe created some new ones. And you can find us out more on pigskindispatch.com. We have a great array of football stories just for you. Also, check out some of our friends here on the Sports History Network, where we have a bunch of us are talking about sports history. I believe there's like 27 of us right now with almost 30 different podcasts that are spreading the news about sports history. And it's evergreen, so it's always good to listen to. Even if it's a few years old, 5 years old, you can still listen to it, and it'll be just as relevant as the day it was, because we're talking about history. So join them at sportshistorynetwork.com, pigskindispatch.com for the football, and don't forget about jerseydispatch.com for some great sports history there too. So till tomorrow, everybody, have a great gridiron day. That's all the football history we have today, folks. Join us back tomorrow for more of your football history. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
It was just another ordinary day in the offices of the Pittsburgh Guardian newspaper circa 1924. But for Marla Delft, assistant editor, everything was about to change. For she was about to discover the awesome attractiveness of Row 1 brand retro sports paraphernalia items thanks to Orville Mulligan, sports writer.
And there it is.
Wow, Orville, that's really the bee's knees.
Isn't it just? A poster-sized replica of the actual 1909 World Series program cover.
I can see that. But where did you get it? And where'd you get it framed?
I ordered it from the Row 1 website, where over 6,000 items of sports memorabilia from the 1880s to the 1990s are available for reproduction, in multiple sizes and in several different materials, with over a dozen styles of frame to choose from for prints like this.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Delft would love to put up more of these in the office. But I'm equally as sure they're beyond this newspaper's budget.
Not at all, my dear Marla. See for yourself. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. Oh my, these are good prices. Oh, and look at this stuff. Oklahoma-Nebraska football, college basketball art, Michael Jordan items.
And so it
retro
was that
sports
Marla Delft
advertisement
discovered the
placards.
splendiferous magic of Row 1 sports memorabilia, arts, and prints. You can too by visiting sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. That's ROW1 today for access to the full Row 1 catalog of gallery prints and gifts like t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, telephone cases, coffee mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Act today for 15% discount off all prints with coupon code SHN15 and 20% off all other items with coupon code SHN20 at checkout. And keep your dial locked to the Sports History Network for the exciting chronicles of the 1920 sports world in Orville Mulligan, Sports Writer. Coming soon.